I'll tell you straight, I didn't expect a flight to New York with my son to be the day my whole life took a turn I never saw coming. You ever think you've got the whole world figured out? Money, power, private jets, all that noise, and then a stranger in your own kid team up to show you just how little you actually see? Yeah, that happened. And it started with turbulence in every sense of the word. Dad, I think something's wrong with the plane. Those words, quiet but sharp, cut through the anxious buzz as our jet lurched hard. My hands gripped the armrests, knuckles turning white. But when I looked at Oliver, he wasn't scared, he was focused, eyes sharp, taking it all in even as his thin body jerked with every bump. His cerebral palsy made the rough air a challenge, sure, but fear? No, just this kind of still, analytical calm. Then came Sophia, the flight attendant, maybe late 40s, silver-streaked hair, the kind of posture that says she's handled everything before breakfast. She knelt right by Oliver's seat, speaking low, her voice that mix of command and kindness you get from people who've seen the best and worst of humanity at 35,000 feet. Whatever she said, my son's eyes changed, widened, then filled with something fierce. Determination, maybe. And just as I was about to say something, the plane took another sudden dip, passengers gasping, and the oxygen masks dropped with a snap, yellow jellyfish dancing in the air. Here's the thing I'll never forget. Oliver, hands trembling but intent, fixed his own mask. Then, methodically, he helped me with mine. Like Sophia showed me, Dad. Let me back up a sec. 8 hours before that, we weren't even supposed to be on that flight. My jet was down for maintenance, so my assistant Greta Precision German Efficiency never fluster-booked us first class on United. I'd spent the morning annoyed at delays, making sure my phone was blowing up with reminders for a big New York meeting, barely talking to Oliver as we rolled through the terminal. He was quiet, reading Dune in his lap, and when I broke the news, change of plans, flying commercial, he just nodded, looking up with those big, observant eyes. That's okay, Dad. I've always wondered what it's like. You ever feel that weird ache? Not pity, but a stab of something complicated deep in your chest? That was me, and I didn't know what to do with it. Security was a whole other lesson in human nature. The TSA agent talked to Oliver like he was 5 and deaf, just smiled, then muttered to me, "I'm disabled, not deaf." I felt this odd jolt of pride. We navigated the awkward stairs, the forced smiles, the slow shuffle to our seats, and he thanked every flight attendant by name, memorizing them instantly. When Sophia introduced herself, asking if we needed anything special, Oliver piped up, "Maybe just help reaching the call button." She showed him a trick with the safety card adapt, improvise, overcome. What struck Mesh talked to him like an equal. Not to me about him, not to him like a baby. In 2 minutes, she saw something in Oliver that sometimes I'd missed in 14 years. Flight took off, and like clockwork, my walls went up. I started reviewing documents on my tablet. Hostile takeovers are easier than honest conversation, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw Oliver watching everything. Passengers, crew, the routines, the captain at the door. "He looks like you," he said, nodding at Captain Wilson. Same salt and pepper hair, same posture. For some reason, that made me squirm. I cracked a joke about net worth. Oliver just smiled and pointed out that right now, the captain was responsible for everyone's lives. Not a bad kind of power, he said. That's when I realized, somewhere between nannies, specialists, and business trips, I'd started thinking of Oliver's body as a problem to manage. His mind? I'd forgotten how sharp he really was. He watched the safety demo like it was the most important thing in the world, while I barely noticed. After takeoff, Sophia returned with drinks me usual scotch, apple juice for Oliver. She chatted with him about her years flying, the changes in air travel, her mother's stories from Pan Am days. My kid lit up, talking aviation history, connecting dots, dropping facts. He was more alive in that 5-minute exchange than I'd seen in months. We talked books, Asimov, Carl Sagan, coding. He shyly admitted he was building an app to help people with motor issues use touchscreens. I was floored. He wanted to show me some time if I wasn't too busy. I promised him I would. Maybe for the first time, I meant it. When turbulence hit, the plane shuddered and passengers got quiet, but Oliver watched, curious, not afraid. Just potholes, I told him, my hand covering his on the armrest. He smiled, and something shifted like ground moving under your feet, not in a bad way. Of course, a guy across the aisle, Davenport, classic entitled jerk, started complaining loudly about his seat, the drinks, everything. Sophia handled him with poise, and Oliver leaned over. He reminds me of Scrooge before the ghosts. I laughed out loud. My son, quiet, observing, more resilient than anyone gave him credit for. Things escalated fast. Engine pitch changed. Flaps on the wing looked off. Oliver was the first to notice. He pointed it out, calm as ever, while I was still pretending nothing was wrong. Sophia, passing by, caught my look and decided to trust us with the truth. Issue with hydraulics. Captain Wilson's on it. We might have to divert. Oliver, nodding, explained the technical details to her. She was impressed, genuinely. Then, chaos plane lurches, oxygen masks drop, passengers panic. Oliver didn't freeze. He did what he was supposed to do, exactly as Sophia had shown him. I realized I'd never really appreciated just how much effort every movement took for him, how much victory there was in small things. First yourself, then those you love, he repeated, and suddenly, the cliché wasn't a cliché. It was a lesson I needed to hear. Captain Wilson got on the PA, voice steady, explaining they'd fixed the issue but were diverting to Chicago for safety. We landed everyone on edge, but safe. Oliver, unflappable, called it exciting. Davenport was still yelling about compensation, missing the point entirely. At the gate, Captain Wilson invited us to stay behind, wanting to meet us. He treated Oliver with the same respect Sophia did, asked about his coding project, offered advice, shared that his niece had MS and might benefit from the app. He even gave Oliver his pilot's wings, penis, small thing, but you should have seen my kid's face. With hours to kill before the replacement aircraft arrived, we found ourselves in the lounge. Oliver people watched, analyzing reactions to stress, talking psychology, making observations about fight or flight that would put an executive coach to shame. I realized how much of his life had been spent on the sidelines learning, observing, growing sharper by necessity. He asked about my flying, why I'd stopped, whether it was because of him. The truth was harder than I liked to admit. I'd retreated into work when his diagnosis and Margaret leaving upended everything. But the real loss wasn't the flying, it was connection, presence. Sophia came to get us for pre-flight checks with Captain Wilson. Oliver helped inspect the aircraft, joined the crew for the cockpit run-through, asked questions that surprised even the first officer. Then came the twist. Wilson invited Oliver to help with the safety briefing for the new flight to New York. It was a risk, but my son, fueled by that spark Sophia had ignited, agreed. When it was time, Oliver took the mic, voice steady, a little slurred but confident. He delivered the safety briefing, Sophia by his side, and for the first time, I saw a plane full of passengers actually listen. He ended with, "The most important safety feature on this aircraft is our crew. Please listen to them." Spontaneous applause. He came back to seat beaming. It felt good to contribute. Somewhere in that moment, something snapped into place for me. All these years, I tried to engineer his life, to minimize struggle, but I'd missed the point. The point wasn't to shield him, but to help him be seen, to help him lead. As we landed in New York, Sophia handed him the wings from Wilson, saying he'd earned them. That quiet pride on Oliver's face was the moment I finally understood what it means to empower someone. We drove into Manhattan, and for once I didn't reach for my phone, didn't check messages. Instead, I turned to Oliver. Hungry, starving, near-death experiences, and public speaking both do that to me. We laughed real laughter, not the polite stuff. Back at the hotel, Oliver was up early, typing notes on his laptop, planning how the neural interface technology my company had set aside could help people like him. I read his ideas, brilliant, thorough, practical in ways my best engineers hadn't thought of. That's when it hit me. The most valuable perspective on accessibility wasn't from any lab, but from Oliver. I offered him a role, a real one, not a token gesture. Start as a consultant, grow into an internship. He lit up. You really think I can contribute? I know you can, I said, and I meant it. He joined me for my big meeting that day, The only one in the room who'd lived the challenges we wanted to solve. And as we walked out together, I felt for maybe the first time in my life like I was really moving forward, not just in business, but as a father too. Look, I've spent a lifetime predicting trends, reading markets, outmaneuvering rivals. But the biggest blind spot was right in front of me, and it took a flight attendant, a crisis, and a courageous kid to show me what I'd been missing. That you can build empires, you can win every negotiation, but if you're not seeing the people right beside you, if you're not empowering them, to let you missing the only thing that really matters. You know what I mean? Maybe your life turns on a single delayed flight or a stranger's small act of faith. Maybe it's the person you've been overlooking, waiting for you to see them, really see them for the first time. Patterns can be broken. Systems can be rewired. All it takes is the courage to look differently at yourself, at others, at what you thought you knew. If this story hit you, don't just keep it to yourself. Drop a comment. Share your perspective of what moment changed the way you see someone. Where have you found unexpected connection? Because sometimes the most meaningful journeys aren't about getting to New York or closing the deal. Sometimes they're about finally learning to fly together. Let's talk about it.